Hello everyone and welcome to project 2 of my scrapbooking workshop kit makeover. This is the kit that I'm doing at the moment. It is the Cape Cod Scrapbooking Workshop kit. I've already taken apart this layout here and made it my own. I'll put a link to that in the comments below and also at the end of the video, as well as if you click on the description below, you will notice links for everything that I have used for my pages. For this video, I'm making over this project here. So you can see that it's got quite a bold title going across, and you slip your photos down behind that, and then there is a panel there, and I'm going to tweak this a little bit to suit my own needs. And I'm also going to show a technique that I haven't shown in quite some time of how I deal with pattern paper and also coloured card stock when I want to tone it down a little bit and not have it quite so bold. So I'm just going to move these off to the side. These are the instructions for project 2, and what I'm doing is going to save me a little bit of paper, so I'm going to save a little bit of this gorgeous stripe paper here for another project, and then on the other side there are the instructions on how to assemble the right page. So just move that off to the side so I can refer to it if I need to, and you can see that I have punched everything out on this. So I'll bring in my tray of things here. These are the letters or the die cuts that I have punched out, and you adhere them behind this overlay here and then put your photos behind here. However, for the photos I have in mind for this layout, I didn't want to hide anything, so you can see there's a photo behind this part of the let's. This works quite well because you still see the people in the photo, and with this part of the title you slide a photo behind here. But for the beach photos that I'm going to use for this, I don't want to hide any portion of my photos. I want my photos to be on top of the layout. So I'm going to keep these punched out letters for another project, and I think what I'm going to do is swap the sides for this all together, and I'm going to do a little bit of a dry fit and show you what I'm going to do. This overlay goes straight into the middle, and I'm going to bring in, I went through a whole heap of colours for this, and I've decided that the Lagoon colour works quite well. So I'm going to put the strip of photos down this side. I'm going to cut this piece here at 4 1/4 by 12 inches. So what I think I'm going to do is trim off 4 1/4 inches and keep this panel for another page or another project. I might make it into a card, or it might be used in this scrapbook workshop makeover that I'm doing for this particular kit, but I do want to save that piece out. So I'm going to build this on top of White Daisy so I can save out this piece. So I've trimmed this down. I've taken 4 1/4 off the edge, and then I've trimmed 1 inch off, and I'm just making sure that when I'm dry fitting this, I'm going to have the patterns lining up so it goes fairly much across the page. This piece is going to go here, and then I'm going to have my 4 1/4 inch panel that is going to go the full 12 inches. But I'm just finding that this paper here is quite strong. I did audition quite a few colours. I tried peach, I tried ballerina, I tried nectarine, but it was a little bit too strong. I tried periwinkle, but I didn't quite like the fit of the purpley blue with these main pieces. But this Lagoon strip is just a little bit too strong. So what I'm going to do is a little bit of a treatment to it, and I'm going to bring in just some scratch white paper and my White Daisy ink. Now, I have shown this before. It's one of my favourite techniques of how to tone down pattern paper and to also add texture to plain cardstock. So I am just dragging my ink pad. I'm going to turn this sideways so it's easier for me to manage. And I'm just dragging my ink pad across the edges. Now, you can definitely do this direct onto the all-purpose mat and then just clean up. But because I'm recording a video, I'm just doing this directly onto a piece of scrap A4 paper, and I'm pushing down with my ink pad a little bit because I want the swipes to go all the way across. So doing a bit of ink swiping really works quite well. And you can see already that is toning down from the original colour. Let me bring in an original piece of Lagoon, and you can see the difference that I'm getting. Now, I did want to mention that I am using the light side of Lagoon, and while that is toned down quite a bit, I feel like the White Daisy ink is giving a wash feel like the pattern paper has. Now, I want a little bit more white featured with this. There is drying time involved with White Daisy, but I'm just going to add a little bit more. You can see it's building up the colour. The ink does soak into the cardstock, so you might need to let it dry off and then come back in and add some more. I'm doing this piece here for demonstration. I have already treated my pieces and left them aside to dry. But I wanted to show you how you can change the look of a paper just by adding white daisy. The other thing I'm going to do now that I've done those stripes is actually use my stamp pad like a stamp. Whoops, as it flies out of my hands. And I'm just doing some straight up and down pouncing with the ink pad, and that's bringing even more texture into this. I've got a little bit of a line happening across here, so I can go in and I can swipe again and just blend that out, and then come in and do more of the stamping with the ink pad, making sure that I go in different areas so I don't have it all coming down in a line. And I think you'll agree this gives an absolute fabulous effect. The other die cuts that are in here are these periwinkle prints. You can see I've treated this piece already with the white daisy. I'm going to treat this one exactly the same way. So it's just a quick drag of the ink pad across the piece, and I've just realized this piece is going to go horizontally on the page, so I want my white daisy to go in a horizontal direction. I know it looks like I'm swiping vertically at the moment, it's just for ease of being able to hold on to the piece. But you can see how that has toned down that pattern piece and give it a more washed look, which I think really suits beach type layouts. White daisy is a pigment ink, so it's not like our normal water-based inks. This does take some drying time. You can use a heat tool, and after it's dried, you might decide that you need to add even more white daisy to it and then dry it off again, or you can just set it aside to dry. So I'm just going to clean up a little bit and then I'll be back. I've adhered down the left page, so basically if I just look at the right page here with the instructions, I've swapped things around a little bit. So I've put my panel on this side. You can see the texture that I've got with this Lagoon piece, and I'm going to follow the positioning of the photos here. A 3x4 photo at the top, another one here, and then I'm going to put the 4x4 photo down here to leave a bit of a gap, and I'll show you why in just a moment. I'm bringing in this circle element, the die cut, but instead of having it in the central area of the page, I'm going to tuck that in so that it's coming out from the photos. I've got this Wild and Free sticker here, so that's going to be my main title. And then I've got another piece of Lagoon that I cut to 11.5 by 8.25, and that's going to go over top of that panel. I could have put that behind these letters. You can see that the wash does come through, the treatment that I did with the white daisy ink, and then I could have just put a 4x4 photo here and a 6x4 photo here, but I'm actually just going to put this over the top. And then positioning of photos, I've got some photo holders here. I'll just bring this piece in. That's going to tuck down under here. So I'm just balancing these out a little bit. I think I'd like to have a portrait 4x6 and 2 landscapes. And because this is cut at 8.25 inches, I'm able to fit 2 6x4s on there, and this creates another large photo mat. I think large photo mats sometimes work really, really well when you're using a pattern paper rather than having individual photo mats. That just appeals to me. Now it has this pink, which I think is ballerina, but it could be a peach, I'm not quite sure, which is originally on this Let's Go page, which I've swapped over to the right, and it comes across this way. So I'm trying to debate whether I have that there, but I don't really want to use that peach color. I feel like with the Lagoon and the periwinkle and the other colors in the background, even though it's in this section here, I want to change it to white. So I'm going to flip that over, and you can see there's Project 2 on there, but I've got a solution for that. I'm going to cover that up, and I think I'm going to do a little bit of ink blending on this just to give it a little bit more texture. And I have a spot here. I've got a photo placeholder. I think this is going to become a journaling box. So I'm going to cut a piece of white daisy to fit into there. And then I've got other stickers to bring in. So the first thing I'm going to do is a little bit of a treatment to this arrow. So I'm going to bring in my scratch piece of paper, some Lagoon ink, and I just need a blending brush. And all I'm going to do is take a little bit of the Lagoon off and just bring the colour in. I don't want it to be totally strong. So you can see as I'm doing this, the edges are getting a sharper outline than what's in the middle. And that's the look I'm after. So I want a fairly subtle look in this white area here with a little bit of the Lagoon colour. And by starting off all the time, that is making sure that I'm not bringing the full strength of the Lagoon ink straight into this arrow. So when you're looking at embellishments, if you don't like the colour that's in on this side, you can blend right over the whole top of this, but I still want to retain some white with this. So I'm just going to keep going, and then I'm very lightly going over the main body part of this arrow. I don't want a totally stark white. I want there to be some light and shade within this. When I'm using blending brushes, I usually always start off the edge or give it a bit of a tap so I don't get pounce marks. Obviously, I can't cover up that part there, but I will be able to do that with a sticker. I'm just going to move this aside for the moment and have a little look. And I really like that blended look across there and the fact that it's not a perfectly smooth blend. So now what I can do is bring this back in. I toyed with just using the letters and inking those up with white daisy and having let's go, but I feel like this can be a title on its own, and I can use this let's go on a bonus layout from this workshop kit. So I need to adhere these main elements down. So there are some die cut pieces that will be able to be tucked under here. I'm thinking I'm going to bring this one underneath rather than the other way around as shown in the instructions. And then I can bring in my stickers, and I'm going to separate out the ones that are suggested for this layout and do a dry fit of that as well. I've cut all the stickers out from the carrier sheet, and I'm looking at how they've got things placed on here. And all the circle stickers are coming down like this in a cascading sort of thing, but I think I'm going to be grouping them in a little bit more. So they have an umbrella here, and I'm thinking with the umbrella, that's going to be the perfect spot for that there. It brings the periwinkle colour over to this section here. There's quite strong periwinkle here, and with that here and the periwinkle down below, that's going to tie all of that in. So that's definitely going to go here. They've got a banner sticker coming out from these die cut pieces, so I'm going to spread that out just a little bit more, and then this is going to go over top of those two. I don't think I need to use this journaling spot on here. Originally it's in this sort of placement, but I've already got a journaling area here, so I can save that for another project. And these two banners come out from behind this little section here, so that would be wasted a little bit. So I am going to actually cut these down so that I can use or create other little banner pieces from the leftover pieces of these. So I'm just going to commit to that and have them coming out from underneath the journal box. On the actual layout, they come out at an angle, but I quite like having them in a straight piece. I think with the wood one, I'm going to make that a little bit longer, so I'm just using this one as a guide. I'm going to have them coming out from under here, and then this one will be, I really love the pattern on this, it's a bit like a mermaid's tail, so that can go there. I've got my palm tree, I'm going to put that over here. It's going to go partially over top of the journal box, and I'm going to anchor it with this little strip at the bottom here. I find that if you place things like this in a middle area of something, they look a bit like they're floating, especially when it's a tree or something like that, so I'm always considering how to ground that a bit better. Beach Lover is another sticker. Sometimes for visual, it's good to take the overprinting from the carrier sheet so you get more of an idea of what the size of the actual sticker is going to be. So that helps visually when you're dry fitting things to see what you want to put on a page. I quite like this little hat here, so I'm thinking I might do that maybe tucked out from behind this Wild and Free, and I think I'm going to pop that up on foam tape. I don't have to use all of the stickers that are suggested for each project as per the guide. I can save them for other projects, but I also have the card making stamp set that I can use on my pages. This one has thin cuts with it. All the blue images here are thin cuts, so that I know as I'm making more projects from this scrapbooking kit, I can bring these into the pages when I run out of stickers and die cut elements. And I've also got the Cape Cod Scrapbooking stamp set and thin cuts, so I'm going to bring those in for future ones. But for the first 3 initial double page spreads, I'm going to just work with the stickers and the die cuts that are provided, and if I have leftovers from that, then I'll be able to use those on extra pages as well as the stamps and thin cuts. Standing back and looking at this is the direction I'm going to go in for this layout. So I'm going to adhere everything down, and then I'll be back to show you the finished result with some little sparkles and things like that on there as well. So I have everything adhered down now. I've pared back the stickers somewhat from what was in the original. So these are the ones that I have saved out from what I haven't used. I've flipped the 2 pages around. So this right page is on the left. With my strip down here, I've got this leftover piece to use on another element because I've replaced this panel here with a full 12-inch piece and in the Lagoon. And I know that a lot of the ink swiping that I've done has been covered up, the white daisy swiping that I've done, but I really love the texture that brings to the edges of these and the little speckles and swipes you can see in between the photos here. For me, is adding the right touch to these layouts and giving these elements a washed look just like this pattern paper here has. It's just softened it down so much so the Lagoon is not quite as bright. And I know I've covered this element up here, but I've still got the letters to use possibly on another layout. And I've added some bitty sparkles just for a little bit of bling on here. I'm really happy with how this one has turned out from the original. Next time I come back with this project, I'm going to do a makeover on project 3. And then after that, I will be putting the leftovers together in other layouts. So if you've liked seeing what I've done with this one, stay tuned. There will be other projects coming in this series very, very soon. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, happy crafting and bye for now.